If you spend enough time dealing with customers, you will at some point have to deal with the contracts related to the service you provide to those customers. At first, contracts can be intimidating, but like most things in life, once you get a bit of practice, you will be better at dealing with these agreements. The following slides won't teach you to be a lawyer, but they will provide you some real world insights that will help you when it comes time to deal with a contract. You won't believe how many contracts I have seen come across my desk that did not have the proper signatures. What I mean by the proper signatures is that the client who is getting the product or the service has signed the contract, and the person that is supplying that product or service has also signed the same contract. You have to have both signatures on the same document in order for it to be a contract. A lot of smart contracts now have this wording below the signature line: authority to bind the company. This wording serves as a reminder to the person who is actually signing the contract that they must have the authority to commit to the terms of the contract that they are about to sign. Basically, the client, by signing it, says, yes, I can pay for this product or service that I'm about to receive. And then subsequently, the company representative is also saying, yes, I can deliver the product or the service as it is outlined in the contract. All contracts should have these basic elements. Number one, a start date. When are you going to deliver the product or the service? Number two, contract length. This can be any duration of time, from a day, a week, a month, 7 months, or even 4 years. Number three, details of the product or service. This item can never have enough detail. The goal here is to make sure both parties know exactly what is to be done in the contract, right down to the finest details. It is important to make sure everyone's expectations are absolutely crystal clear. Number four, prices. Yes, it is important to list out the price you are charging for the service or the product that you are selling. Making sure the contract details what is included is just as important as to what is not included in the price. When you think price, think number of units, volume, frequency, and any and all discounts, and for how long that price will be in effect. You may want to offer discounts or increases in your price if certain conditions apply, such as a customer who buys more than expected or less than agreed to. Keep these options open because you never know what will happen in the future. Number five, payment terms. In the olden days, when business was a local exchange of goods and services, payment terms were pretty much cash when you bought or received the product or service. As business became more international, it became inconvenient to pay cash for, say, a shipload of iron ore. So payment terms became part of the contract. Payment terms ensure there is a timely balance between the delivery of a service to the payment for such service. Some companies can afford to extend payment terms for bigger deals, but some need to be paid immediately. When you are negotiating payment terms, ensure you can afford the terms you agree to. Otherwise, you may find yourself overextended credit-wise and not be able to afford to pay your employees or other key providers. Number six, mailing addresses. In your contract, make sure you have the mailing addresses of the person who signed the contract and the mailing address and name of the person or department you are to send the invoices to. Same applies if you are getting paid. Make sure your customer knows where to send the check to. Either way, you will save a lot of time and minimize confusion if you add this to the contract. Number seven, approved signatures. Now I know we're going over this again, but this is simple. Make sure the people who sign the contract have the authority to commit to the terms of the contract. When in doubt, ask for proof. Don't risk disappointment or extra cost because you didn't do this step. When it comes to contracts and promises, the only valid promise is a promise that is written into the contract. Everything else is simply words, and spoken words are not binding. I wish they were, but that is not the case. So if a contractor says we will pick up and dispose of all excess material, get it in writing. If the client says we will give you more business if you deliver on time, have them put that in writing. It is easy to believe or have faith in the other party when you are negotiating a contract. You want to take their word for it. Everyone has good intentions, but situations change, people change, so ensure everyone remembers what they promised by putting it in writing and incorporating it into the contract. It is natural that a contract will go back and forth between your company and your client as each party fine tunes what they will agree to and what they want changed or adjusted in the contract. Electronically written contracts or documents can be adjusted and or altered without the other party being told or being aware of it. Electronically written contracts or documents can be adjusted and or altered without the other party being told or even being aware. You can get around the red line in Word documents. Like it or not, it's a fact. So you have to guard against this practice by reviewing the red line contracts that come back to you. Most people will concentrate their attention on the sections that have been redlined, but it is always good practice to scan the rest of the document to ensure nothing else has changed. One quick and easy way to do this is to first ensure that you have the same number of pages in the contract. Secondly, you can scan a contract by looking for the same words at the beginning and ends of each line and comparing them to the original and the redlined version. As you can see in this example, the words any and against appear on the 3rd and 8th lines as in the original. Also, we have bullet points A through D in both copies. So you can be pretty sure that this section of the contract has not been altered. If that section had words added or removed, then the words would not line up the same way. This would be obvious with gaps or font changes as well. Every contract will have some changes made to it. When it does, both parties must agree to those changes. The changes need to be initialed by both parties or the change is not deemed accepted into the contract. This procedure also stops one party from making changes after the contract has been signed, and it ensures the integrity of the contract process. It is a good idea to actually write such a clause into your contract to ensure that both parties understand that all changes have to be mutually agreed to. One would think this is an obvious slide, but reality has taught me quite differently. Here is a scenario to consider. John works for a software company and John gets paid a commission for each of his software sales. John knows the full price of his company's software, but John also knows he can sell more software if he discounts the price. John might not really know what it costs to actually write, sell, and support the software his company is selling. All he knows is he gets paid if he sells. So John's motivations may not align with his company's objectives. When it comes to discounts on product or services, make sure everyone in your company knows what is the absolute lowest price that is acceptable. You run a business and not a charity. Don't give away the company's profits by adding excessive discounts into a contract. When you are negotiating a contract, always try to keep an open mind to new approaches and terms to a contract. It is natural to immediately dismiss any changes to your contract. But try and listen to new approaches and new ways of looking at the business. Sometimes these new ideas will come from your clients and your customers. Your best reaction is not to react, but to listen and ask questions. Lots and lots of questions. Try to understand where they are coming from. If you let the other person explain their position, their logic, and their reasons why they are asking for what they are asking, you might see an opportunity or approach that you never thought of before. Always respond this way. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that important to you and or your company? The worst contracts are the ones done in a rush. It is well known that most concessions in a contract are done in the final hours of the negotiation. Do what you can to avoid hurried or time-sensitive situations such as signing a bunch of contracts on the last day of the month or at the end of the quarter. Try to minimize these traps by not setting a deadline to sign by a certain day or a certain time. Of course, you will have to eventually sign the contract, but you cannot predict ahead of time what issues will come up in the negotiation phase. So don't be at a disadvantage and leave yourself some extra time and flexibility. Contracts can impact businesses in many ways. Unless you own, run, and manage a one-person business, chances are very high that the contract you are about to sign will affect a lot of people in your company. People may be hired, expensive machinery purchased, office spaces rented, budgets changed, and so on. So now is the time to hand over your about to be signed contract to a trusted party in your company or organization for them to have a review of the deal. They may have a perspective or knowledge about a certain situation that you were not aware of. This information may have a material impact on the deal or simply point out something that might become an irritant later on. The point is, you won't unless you get a second or third opinion. Also, this gives other folks in the organization the ability to know and manage to the contract terms, and that alone will ensure for a successful contract. Thank you for watching this presentation on contract basics. I hope the information has been helpful to you.